Can you ever be too ready for Christmas, even if it is only August? I don't think so. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my weekly vlog number 128 for Monday, August the 12th, 2019. And I hope everybody had a good weekend, and I hope you've got a great week planned ahead. So let's just jump into what I've been working on. You saw a trailer or the teaser for this. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. Not happy with the lighting. Okay, so now I'm getting weird stuff over here. That might be a little better, I hope. Anyways, back to what I was going to show you. Been making some Christmas things. Yes, it's only August, but you got to get started on this stuff now, really, especially when you're making something by hand. Need lots of time. So we're going off in a few weeks' time, in about the middle of September actually, to visit some friends of mine, that childhood friends. We don't see each other very often. They live about 2.5 hours away from us in a place called Kingston. And so we're going up there for the day in the middle of September to visit them. And I thought, well, I always like to bring gifts. So I thought I would make some table runners. And I have. Let me just grab the 2 table runners here. So this is table runner number 1. As you can see, I did very simple walking foot quilting on this. And this is the back. So the quilting is very subtle. You can actually see the little ripples if I get the light on it again. That's all I did was wavy foot. I didn't have enough backing material, so I pieced some material together, which is fine. Makes the back a little bit interesting, and actually this is reversible. You could turn it either way. And I made another one. It's the same pattern. The star that's on both of these is called a sawtooth star. A very basic pattern, but I quite like it. They're pretty fast to put together. And again, this one was just quilted with a walking foot. And the back of this is a pieced back as well. So as I said, these 2 table runners could be reversible if you so desired. And I like making them because they're fast. I can make them in a day from beginning to end, and that's good as well. Okay, and then, as I always like to experiment, where is it? So I have a lot of scrap pieces left over from making those table runners. I don't throw my scraps away. Let me get into the shot here. I don't throw my scraps away. Some coffee. I save them, but they start to pile up. Okay, just a second. This is bugging me today. It's a little crooked. Hope that's better. Well, we'll see. Anyways, I decided to put my some of the scraps together and make this. And this is just a little 12.5 inch, is it 12? It might be bigger than that, it might be about 15 inch square. Now, this doesn't follow any pattern. It's just all scrap pieces I sewed together, basically at random. And this is what I came up with. I'm going to make some more of these as I get more scraps, and maybe put the whole thing together as a bit of a, what they call a crazy quilt. I am sort of piecing it from the scraps, but I don't really have a plan. I just put down whatever looks good. Waste not, want not, I guess. So, what else? Oh yes, these are cute. Okay, using my embroidery machine to make these poinsettias. These are called a freestanding lace, although they're made up of 3 parts. Each one gets progressively smaller. And then you put them together, and there's actually something on these called buttonettes and eyelets, and basically they're just a little knob you put through a hole, and it holds it all down. And there is a little fabric in this. In the big poinsettia at the back, the white one, they're both white, I guess. Yeah, they're both white in the background. That's some fabric. and then there's a little fabric in the piece that's in between. Hard to see. A little closer up, maybe that'll help you. So there you go. And you just sort of fluff them up. They're kind of stiff because they have a water-soluble stabilizer in them. And it leaves a residue when you wash it out. I mean, depending on how much of it you wash out, that's the back, the stiffer they can be if you leave a lot in. And I tend to leave a fair amount in just so you can sort of manipulate them. You see, you can sort of bend the leaves up, and yeah. So I'm in the process of making a few more of these, and these are going into my little gift bags for the people that are coming here in September for dinner. As I mentioned before, I give swag bags. So these are part of the swag bags. And they're fun to make. You know, I love doing stuff. It's called In the Hoop, and I love doing stuff like that with my embroidery machine. Okay, so those are things I've been busy working on. And let's see. Takes us YouTube channel of the week, one by Kelly Barlow Creations. This week's YouTube channel is called Kelly Barlow Creations. Stinkin' cute productions. That's what she has in her header, and I think that's kind of funny. Anyways, this particular YouTube channel is really good if you're looking for a lot of DIY home decor ideas. She claims she does a lot of her creations on a budget. She finds things in all the dollar stores and things laying around the house, and she makes some really interesting home decor pieces. Now, her style is not my style, but I know that a lot of people are into what she calls farmhouse chic. So if you're into that, you'll definitely want to look up Kelly Barlow Creations. So as always, the link for the YouTube channel of the week is down below in the show notes. And there's also our Stephen and Walter Live. The link is there for that as well. This week we talked about a fairly serious topic on the based on what's happened in the States in the last week with the mass shootings and things like that, which are horrible. And I should have turned off my email. But we thought we'd talk about, why are people violent? Is our society more violent than it has been before in the past? We got into a lot of issues about what we think makes our society more violent. So, you know, if you're interested in that kind of thing, you might want to tune into that. Now, as I'm talking about Stephen and Walter Live, come this week, we have a bit of a conflict in our scheduling. It's my mother's birthday this week, and we're going to have a little family gathering at the residence, and that's going to happen right at about the same time we usually do Stephen and Walter Live. So we're either going to put Stephen and Walter Live one day sooner, it'll be on Saturday at 4 o'clock, or we might do it earlier on Sunday, say around 1 o'clock. We haven't decided yet, so I will put out an announcement as to exactly when we are going on, probably the day before we do it, so you'll know. But things happen in life, you know, and you just have to work around them. So we'll see what happens from that. You're going to notice something else in the show notes below, and this is a bit of an experiment. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the vlog, but there's some links down there that look a little unusual. They're links for this week's book of the week, and for some other things I'm going to show you later on. They basically will take you to where you can purchase those items if you're interested, and they're called affiliate links. And I'll talk a little bit more about why I'm trying this out, but right now it's an experiment, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. But that just, at this point in the vlog, explains to you why the links might look a little different than they do in other weeks. And as I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this affiliate business in a moment or two. But that takes us now to, what does it take us to? Another page. Okay, actually, it's time for what's pissing me off. And really, this isn't so much that's pissing me off, it's just something that's made me think. And that's why the fancy links in the show notes. I've been watching a lot of, well, I watch a lot of YouTube videos all the time, and there's a lot of them really seem to be lately really pushing their site in terms of getting back financially. Many of them have Patreon things, and I've talked about Patreon before and why I won't do Patreon. People are doing super chats where people, for no apparent reason, just send money to people while they're doing like a live broadcast or something like that. I haven't turned that on any of my live broadcasts. I'm not even sure if I qualify for it, because I think there might be a level you have to be at in terms of your number of views or your number of subscribers, and I'm small potatoes. So, but then there's another kind of link. It's called an affiliate, and a lot of different companies have these, and Amazon is one of the ones that is probably most popular. And basically, if someone clicks on the link that you put into your show notes for your YouTube channel, looking for an item you've talked about and they want to buy it, that link will take them to Amazon so they can purchase it. But what happens is that particular link gives some money back to the YouTube creator. So in my case, I've put in some links for some products I'm going to talk about a little later on in the vlog. It's an experiment. I have no idea how much money you make from that. It doesn't cost anybody who clicks on the link any money at all. Not a thing. I get a couple of pennies, I think, for every sale. I don't think it's going to make me millions of dollars. And as I said, I'm doing it more as an experiment because I've heard people talking about this. In fact, I didn't think I would qualify to be a part of an affiliate program, but apparently I am. I have it now. I think there's a stipulation within the next 180 days or something, at least 3 people have to use one of my affiliate links or something. And if nobody does, or if it's only 2 people or 1 person, then I think they cut me off. Go figure. I don't know. I know some people will purposely put into their videos all kinds of different products simply to get people to go through their affiliate links so they can make some money. I'm not doing that. If it's a product I put up there, if I show it to you, it means I believe in it. I will not put up products that I don't like or I don't think are worth the money. I don't do a lot of product reviews, as you know, in my videos, but I tell you sometimes if I've gotten something new. So I'm going to try this and just see what happens. It's an experiment, okay? It's certainly not going to make me rich by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, sure. If it brings me in a little bit of money, I'll just spend it anyways, probably on fabric or on crafting supplies, whatever. But I'm just trying it just to see what other people who are much bigger potatoes out there than I am, what they make. Like people like Ken and Sean and, you know, any of the biggies, Melanie Lane, those kind of people. They're really making a lot of money off of all those things. But they've got a user base of or subscriber base that's so much bigger than mine. I mean, I have under 3,000 subscribers. And that took 4 years to get that many. So yeah, Walter thinks I need to put more interesting titles in my metadata and in my actual title of my videos. You know, what do they call that? Clickbait kind of a thing. Well, again, I have a little problem with putting in something in a headline that really isn't true. That's clickbait. I don't do it. I do this as a hobby. I'm not doing it for the money. But having said that, maybe if I can get a few cents out of it, bonus, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so nothing's pissing me off this week. That's just a little piece of information I thought I'd give you so I could explain those damn big links. I don't know if I'm doing those right or not. I have a feeling they shouldn't be that big. They look like they're HTML code that should be embedded if you have a web page. So not sure how this works. We'll see. Okay, moving on. So talking about products. So this little device. You may ask, what is this little device? It's a circle cutter. It's meant for fabric. You could use it on paper. If you use it on paper, though, you want to make sure, I think, that you have a lot of replacement blades for this, because paper will dull anything that's meant for cutting fabric. But really, this works like a charm. You simply put it down on top of your fabric or your paper. You take this knob, you adjust it to whatever size circle. It'll go from 2 inches to 12 inches in diameter. And the blade is under here. There's a little safety lock, so you click the safety lock off, hold your hand down on this little silver knob, put your other hand over here. You actually do it cross hand, sort of like that. It's kind of awkward to show you this. And you just go zippity-doo around, and you've got a circle. I got it for applique purposes with fabric. It has a tiny little blade in it, and I'm not sure what the size of the blade is, but I think it's a 28 inch millimeter or 28 millimeter blade, which you can get, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it is. How long will a blade last? Depends on how many circles you cut. But it's well built. It's not a cheap little toy. I forget what it cost. I think it was about 40 bucks or something like that. But if you're interested in something like this for cutting circles, for crafting, or for cutting circles out of fabric, then this really takes the guesswork out of it and makes very accurate cuts. So if you're interested, I've got the link in the show notes below, and yes, it's one of the ones I'm experimenting with as an affiliate link. So, what else? Oh yes, this book. Okay, I was watching Barb Owen, and I'm sure you know who that is, last week, and she had been talking about this book. So I went on to Amazon and I got one of these. And this, you can see I've already gone through it. There's things I want to try. It's basically how to make different kinds of journals in the way that you fold your paper. The book is very clearly written, lots of diagrams, good instructions, has a whole section at the beginning of it talking about what the equipment is that you'll need. But most of these look very simple but have very dramatic results. So I'm going to make a few of these. That's why I have these pages marked. And I'll probably do a video as I make each one. It'll be separate from my vlog. And we'll see how this goes. But I've got some great ideas that I want to explore with what's in this book for mixed media projects as well. So if you want a really good book, not bad, it's about $35 Canadian. It's hardcover. I got it on Amazon, and I got the link below for that as well. Another book, it's actually a magazine, but they're making them now more like books. Is called Art Journaling by Stampington Company. Now, you're probably familiar with many of their products. Stampington has a whole range of artsy magazines, things about sewing, things about art journaling like this one, things about digital, mixed media itself, a whole line of books. And every now and then I will buy some of these because I really like them. Well, actually, again, Barb Owen was talking about this one in conjunction with the book I just showed you, and I went over, and these aren't usually that easy to get because our bookstores out here may get only a few of them and they're gone really fast. I actually found this at Walmart, which I was surprised because I went to Chapters, which is our major bookstore chain, went there, and they have an extensive collection of magazines every month, and that's where I've bought these before, but they didn't have this one. I've looked in Walmart before, but don't usually see anything by Stampington and Company, and lo and behold, all sitting all by itself in a section where it shouldn't have been was this. So I picked it up. Now, these are not cheap. They cost, this one, what is it, in Canadian? $16.99 Canadian, $14.99 American. But if you've never looked through one of these are very inspiring. This is not the kind of magazine that you would throw out. And in fact, like I said, they're more like a book. They come out with this 4 times a year. I think they used to come out with it a little bit more often, but they've cut down to 4 times a year, and they've made it a little thicker. So it's actually worth the money, I think. And I've been going through it. You can see I got little tabs and things on here. And basically I read these from cover to cover, and it generates ideas of things I want to try. In fact, I like them so much, I decided to subscribe to it. It's expensive. I think Canadian, it costs about, worked out in the exchange to about $81. So basically $81 for 4 issues of this. There was a freebie, a digital freebie they threw into, and I've already gotten it. And it's basically another magazine that shows you how to use type, as in, you know, fonts and things like that, as part of your art journaling as art, which is kind of nice. It was a bonus for subscribing. But the reason I subscribed is not really to save money on it, but just so I know that I'm going to get every one of the issues when they come out. And like I said, $16.99, so $17 Canadian, 4 times a year. What's that? 17 times 4, 28, $68. Wow. I'm just thinking I paid 81. Okay, how's that work? In some ways, I just figured this out, it'd be cheaper to buy them off the shelf. But then again, I'm paying for, well, that includes shipping in the price too. So yeah, for a few dollars more, that's costing me, I know I'm going to get it. So I guess that's the way I'm going to justify it. But it is an excellent magazine. All of their publications are excellent. They're high quality paper they're printed on, high quality photography, good articles. I like Stampington and Company products. And I think there's a link. Is there a link? Did I put a link? Let me just see. Probably not, because you can't get this off of Amazon. No, there is not a link to this. So if you're interested, look on your newsstand or go to Stampington. Just do a search for Stampington and you'll find their website. And you can order all kinds of this stuff off there. And you can order single copies. You can even order back editions of things on there too. And they've got a sale on right now for some of their older ones. And I think it's like a buck or something, or a couple of bucks, whatever. So anyways, that was, I think, everything that is new. Yes. So that takes us to the book of the week. Another one from my stash. Had it a long time. Beyond Metal. Now, this is by a company called Memory Makers. This company I don't think exists anymore. And it's too bad, because they used to have a lot of really excellent books. And this is one of them. Beyond Metal is basically showing you how to use metal as embellishments, as frames, as background pieces, all kinds of different things you can do. They focus on using them in scrapbooks, because at the time that this book came out, it was really geared to the scrapbooking crowd. But again, what you do in scrapbooks, you can translate into mixed media easily. So there's lots of great ideas in here. It's a nice book because it's high quality paper in it. Pictures are really clear. It's just a great way of getting inspiration for using maybe foil, metal sheets, tinfoil. Get out your tinfoil from the kitchen. You can use it in mixed media now, that kind of thing. So if you're interested, I paid $24.99 for it originally. That's what the price tag on the back says. But I did look it up, and there's a link to it for Amazon. And I think on Amazon, what are they selling it for? Yeah, if you go on to Amazon.ca, you can get it for $1.69. $24.99 when I paid for it. Now you can get it for $1.69. Now there may be some shipping involved with that on top of the $1.69. But still, it's available if you're interested. And I recommend any of the books by Making Memories, except that they probably don't exist anymore. Okay, so that's the book of the week. So that takes us to the next segment in my iCraft kits. And this week, with the Shadow Box album, I'm going to show you how I decorated it with background papers. And at the same time, you're going to see how you fold it up. because if you remember in the last segment, I showed you how it goes together, but with one of them, it came with two, right? It came with one in black and one in craft. I showed you how the black one sort of went together, but I already had it together before I did that part of the video. And the reason being is I want to show you how to put it together as you lay down your background papers, because I think it's easier if you actually put your background papers onto each part of the shadow box before you actually start doing the folding and the adhering the pages in and that kind of thing. So here's that now. Okay, so now I'm going to assemble the basic shadow box album, and I want to show you some work I did before I started the video. First of all, because of the nature of this particular album, I felt that I should really make an effort to put all the background papers onto each of the pieces before I actually assembled the box. I thought it would make it a little bit easier. So what I did was I took the dimensions that were on the back of the envelope that all of the kit came in and used those as a guide for setting up my Cricut to cut my background papers. And my background papers are actually from the same company, iCraft. They also have papers, and actually I'm very impressed by these papers. They're very pretty. You can see out here on the cover what they look like. They are only single-sided, but they are fairly thick, which is nice. However, this pad does say this is 24 pattern paper at 210 GSM cardstock, acid and lignin free. It's a 12 by 12 paper pack. It is not a 12 by 12 paper pack. I measured the pages and I've taken them off now, but there was a strip, about a 1-inch strip, that was on the edge of this. It had perforation so you could easily remove it, and that's what held it into this holder. But when you take that strip off, which is just a plain piece of paper, I'll show you. I think I've got one here that I pulled off. Here's what they look like. It's just a plain piece that sat on the edge. And when you take that off, this is no longer 12 by 12, but it's 11 1/4 by 11 1/4 or something like that. Now, actually, the company did know about this. I found out because I mentioned this to the supplier that I buy from, and she said the company realized this. It was a manufacturing misprint, and that their future pads would all be true 12 by 12 papers. But that's just an aside. But generally speaking, I do like this paper, even if it's not double-sided, because of the weight of it. And the colors are really nice in it too. So I decided to use that as my background panels. And so I set up my Cricut to cut all of these, and I cut them all about a 1/4 inch longer, a 1/4 inch less in length and width than the actual background pieces or the foundation pieces, so I'd have a nice little border. I went around all the borders of all the papers with just some Distress Oxide Walnut Stain ink, just to grunge it up a little bit. And I also did it on the parts that will become the shadow box part of the album, which are our covers. And I did it on everything. So that's all done and out of the way. I thought that that would be easier to do before I assemble it. Now, when it came to the assembly, I had to figure out where my double-sided tape was going to go. And what I was going to use, especially for these bigger panels, was I using double-sided tape, or was I going to use wet glue, or some form in between? So I experimented a little bit with this. And on some of these pieces, I used the double-sided tape, and I just used 1/2 inch double-sided tape. But I found that that was taking me a while to do. And so then I decided to use wet glue. And the first wet glue I tried was my go-to Gorilla Glue, the super glue, which dries clear. But you don't get a lot in one of these bottles. A lot of surface to cover here, and to be honest, this works better if you're doing it by drops as opposed to lines of glue, and I wanted lines of glue around this to really keep it secure. So then I decided to try another glue that I have, the Tombow Mono Aqua Liquid Glue, which I really like. But again, that was taking some time, and I thought, well, what the heck? let's get out my Tombow tape, adhesive tape, two-sided, and use that. And that works really well. Now, a word of caution about using this kind of adhesive on some things. Craft stock, for some reason, I find, does not allow for double-sided tapes to adhere as well. It depends on the brand, I guess, or the manufacturer, but for some reason they have a different texture which doesn't always lend itself to this. However, for this project it did work very well. So that's what I used to put down my covers on all these pages. And of course these are double-sided, so I had to cut 16 covers to cover the 8 pages. Then what I did was I decided, well, when you're putting this together, your edges are going to be raw and you'll probably want to cover it up with something, and washi tape was the first thing that came to mind to me because it was the exact size that I needed to cover on all of the sides. So that's what I did. But I thought it might be a little awkward once these are folded up to add the washi tape on the sides and on the top. So as I'll show you on this piece, because I haven't assembled this one yet, I flipped it over. This is the back side, so it's the side that would be flat, this side for example. And I put my adhesive already on it. I figured out where the adhesive would go when these are folded up to create the shadow box. And I figured out where my washi tape should go, and I picked two colors of masking, not masking, but of washi tape that I had. And I just, on the inside part, I did one. On the next part to it, I did a different color. And so you can see when they get folded up, you have the ones that go around the edge on the front, and then you get the ones that go around on the outside. And I thought that would just be easier. Now, the thing about washi tape is, though, it has a tendency, some washi tapes are stickier than others, and so sometimes they have a tendency to peel up. And given what I've already said about craft stock and craft cardstock and working with it, excuse me, I laid down a line of this particular adhesive, the Tombow Mono, and it was just the right size, and then put my washi tape on top of it and gave it a good varnish. That just gives me, even though the washi tape was sticky, it just gives me an extra secure adhesion to this. So I have all my pieces decorated. Now putting it together should be fairly easy because I've already got all of these pieces on. I don't have to worry about working them around corners or things like that. So showing you this piece. This is the second piece. One's the front, one's the back. And I'm just going to show you how I put it together. And one other little tip about these corners. So I already did the scoring, or the score lines were already there. I already did the folding of them, so they're ready to go. And I did them, gave them a good crease with my bone folder. And so now I'm just going to take off the tape on this one. And I'm just going to carefully fold it so that it creates a frame. Now you do have to play with this a little bit, but there is a little bit of wiggle room with this particular double-sided tape. And I'm just going in as far as I can with my bone folder to press that down. And actually, if I used a paintbrush handle, that might work better. Yes, that works better to getting in that space. And I'm just pushing it down on the bottom so it gets good adhesion. So there's one side done. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. And guess what I did? I put my tape, or did I put my tape on the wrong way? And I did. I put my adhesive, when I did this, on the wrong flap. It should have gone on the one on the most outside. But one thing about this kind of tape, and in using it with combination with craft stock, it comes off very well. So I'm going to just take my tape again, and I'm going to put a new strip down where it should go. And these things happen. Actually, to keep myself straight on which fold lines
which score sections my washi tape should have gone on, I put a little X with a pencil on each one just to keep me straight, because it's very easy to get confused when you're doing something like this. Okay, this should work this time. There we go. Let's give it a good varnish at either end. Okay, so now we've got the two edges. Now we have the end pieces. So we're going to do the same thing. Now these are a little bit trickier because you have to kind of get them lined up with the corner so the corner is mitered. And they kind of fit in to the corner, but you do have to play with it a little bit. Now, the one problem I have here is, of course, they don't want to butt right up tight. So the way I got around that was I took the washi tape that I used on the side, this key motif. I took some more of it, if I find the end of the washi tape, and I just went back around. Now, I don't really worry about matching this, and of course if you used a washi tape that does not have a definite pattern to it, you wouldn't have to worry about matching it at all, but I don't think anybody's going to notice it. So you see, I'm just wrapping it around, give it a good varnish, and I take my scissors and just cut it off and varnish that. And now that's reinforcing that corner. And although I didn't put any adhesive underneath, it should hold without too much of a problem. I'm hoping anyways. So I'm going to do the same thing on this corner. So in a sense, it's like reinforcing the corner. And varnish that. Okay, that side's done. So now I'm just going to do the same thing with the other end piece. Now there is some fudging with this. Okay, get that in. Okay, and then we're just going to add our washi tape to reinforce and hold in the corner. One thing nice about washi tape, though, is because it's also repositionable. Of course, that's why it doesn't always stick as well as you would like it to. It seems to be doing the job here. Get this corner in a little bit. Got a little piece hanging out. Just going to cut that off. That was this little corner. There we go. Okay. Sorry if I'm going out of shot there. Okay, so there we have our top and our bottom covers. Now you may notice here that there's a little bit of the foundation pieces showing through and the corners here. Maybe if I had, I've just thought of this now, maybe if I had put these ones together first and then these ones together, that would have covered that up and there wouldn't be that problem. But I'm not looking at it as a problem. I'm just looking at the fact that I'll probably end up covering some of that up with my embellishments when I get to that stage of the whole thing. Okay, so I've got those two pieces done. Now, we need the connection piece. That's what they call it. Let's make some room here. And I did something with this before. Now, of course, I stuck down my papers, my background papers, and this is what the pages are all going to be hooked to. But because this is on craft, it's very difficult to see the score line. So even though I scored it, I did mark it with a pencil because I'm going to use that as a guideline for lining up these pieces. Now, I have already put my tape on one side of a hinge on each one of these pages, but I'm not going to fold it yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up and then fold it. So I think that'll make things easier. So I'm taking off the backing on the two-sided tape, and I'm just putting the edge of that hinge piece on the page piece right up with the connector piece. I'm just lining it up and I'm trying to keep this straight. And it's important this first one is kept as straight as possible because basically you're going to use it to line up all your other pieces. Now you could use glue for this. I wouldn't recommend using the Tombow because I don't think that will be strong enough. But I'm using double-sided tape. And now all I need to do is carefully fold that back along the score line, give it a good score, and I'll move these out of our way. And now I can do the next piece. So I'll take off the tape, flip this over, and butt this up against the edge of the first page I put in here. Again, keeping it as straight as I possibly can. But if I've got that first one in straight, when I butt it up, it shouldn't be any problem keeping it straight. And again, just going to fold that on the score line. Make sure it stays straight before you do an actual varnishing because sometimes it goes off a little bit. And there we have that. Let's do one more. And then I think you get the idea, so I'll do the other 5 off camera. And then come back and show you how to put the covers on. Okay, so I'm going to put the rest of these on and I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, so now I've got all my pages adhered onto this back hinge, as you can see. One little thing I found was this was not the first page I started with. This was the first page, and as I lined each one up with the edge, I'm not sure what I did wrong, but I ran out of space when I got here, and I had one left over, but no big deal. I just put it on top of the one that's here. So the only difference is, and no one would ever notice, is I don't have that gutter here, but that's okay. I could have left it out too if I wanted to, but it does have 8 pages with it, so I want to use them. You may have to do a little finagling to get things to line up properly. So now we come to putting the covers on. So let's put on the front cover first. So it's going to go with the shadow box facing up, and it's going to go onto this flap. Now I could have done this beforehand, but I didn't because I forgot. Put my tape on these flaps before I put in the pages. But actually, that's not a big problem. As you can see, it's fairly easy to do that after the fact. So I've got the 2 on here, and while I'm at it, I might as well put the 2 that need to go on this part. Oh, now one of these parts is I'm going to cut these down. Remember, this part was hanging over too far when you put this on the inside. So I'm just going to eyeball how much I need, and it looks like it's about 1/4 of an inch. Well, let's take a ruler, but I think it's probably 1/4 an inch, 1/2 an inch. It's a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open this up. Let's see. This is the one I want to take it from. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just going to measure from the scored edge 1/2 an inch. draw a line between those 2 points. And I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut that right off right there. Now that should avoid having that little overhang piece on the inside. And I'm just going to put my tape on this. Varnish it. Okay, so now let's put our front page on first. Now you do want to make sure if you have any directional papers that you have them the way you want. These ones really doesn't matter, so I don't have to be that concerned about that. So take off the backing. And I think it might be easier to do it this way. Lay it down so it's flat, and then line this up. Carefully, you don't want to go over the crease, but you want to get it as close to the score line as you can. And that looks pretty good. Little tape there on the edges, a little sticky, but that'll come off. Okay, now let's do the back. So I want this to face the same way on the back. I could have done it that way. Let's do it in that way. But they did show it doing it this way. I mean, it's up to you, really. I'm going to flip that this way. I'm going to flip this one this way because it feels a little awkward doing it the other way, but I want to get them in the same perspective. They both have these little curly cues here, so I want them to be in the same way. Not that it would matter if they were a little different, because nobody sees the front and the back at the same time. And do the same thing, line it up. Oh, shoot. Mistake, mistake. Oh no. Got a problem, Houston. Okay. Do I have a problem, Houston? Yes, I do. I should have put that. Okay. Tape came off. It's still sticky enough. Okay. I need to do it face down. So face down this way, right? Now I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, that's the way I want it. Okay, when you're using something that you want in a certain direction, you got to really be careful. Okay, do this right this time. Now, of course, this flap has covered up some of my tape, and I'm just making sure. Okay, one thing I want to fix under here is I want to put some washi tape to match this right along this edge. Just hoping that's going to adhere properly. Okay, washi. Nope, wrong one. This is the tape because I want it to match this edge. And before I forget, add some of my double-sided sticky there to hold down my washi, and then put this down. Now, I didn't do a very good job of finishing this corner off that's here. I could have done that better. And on another one, I probably would. And I've got some overhang of sticky here. Oops. Oh, guess what I did? Aha! So, best laid plans of mice and men. My little reinforcement here, because I was pulling it apart, has come undone. It's ripped, actually. So I'm just going to put another piece on top of that. Now you might want to use a decorative tape or something that's a little bit stronger than washi tape for this, because as you can see, that ripped, and I'm just wondering how well that's going to hold together when the album's finished. But I am doing this as a prototype to learn how to do it. So there we go. We have it all assembled. So let's just open it up. And the one beauty of this is it will lay flat. Now I have this right here. I need something on that. I have these little spaces in here. I could find some washi tape, I suppose. That's a little bit thinner. I don't know if I'll bother. I might. I'll see when I do the final embellishment. And there we go. I didn't get that very straight, that washi tape, and I don't think I can peel it up. I can't. So I'm just going to have to live with that. Actually, we can disguise it. This is all part of the fudging. If I just use a little bit of this ink, grunge that up a little bit. Actually, that's probably a good idea on these corners too. And just go around on the inside of these. That kind of, it doesn't hide it, but it's not so obvious. And I'm just going to do the same thing on these corners on the outside here, so they're not so stark. Oops, I did it again. Okay, washi tape may not be the way to go. So let's fix that. I'm sure you can come up with a solution for this. I'm sure if I thought about it, I could come up with a solution for this too that would work better, but I'm not worried about it. I still have the black one to do, or I can do at some point in time. Okay, that's a little better. All right, so there you have it. That's all the background papers, all on it. It's all nice and ready to go. So now what I have to do is embellish the shadow box part on the inside and on the back page. Figure out what I'm going to put in there, and it is a shadow box, so I want to make something dimensional. I'm going to do with this piece and possibly these gutters that are here, and I do want to create some cards and things that can be slipped in here in some pages, maybe leave some of the pages with a little extra card on it for a photo or something like that, or journaling. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but I will be doing that in the next segment.
So next week we'll come to the last segment of the video, and that's the actual embellishing of the album itself. And I think I'm going to try something a little different with that. I think I'm going to try to use some of my Project Life products for this time when I embellish it, because I have a ton of those and I need to use them up because I really don't do Project Life anymore. One of those things I thought was a great idea at one time, and I had to have it all, so I got a lot of it. So it's time to use it up. Okay, so events in the past week. My mother is fine. She's settled into her new room very well. I think she likes it better. The lady she's sharing this room with is very quiet, very nice lady. Doesn't say a heck of a lot, but not like her past roommate who was suffering from dementia and was keeping my mother up all the time, according to her. So I think the new room is working out nicely. I guess she was out for lunch during the week, the past week. They do this about once a month. They have an outing somewhere, and they took her to a place that's north of where she is living, and for lunch. And they went to a pub for lunch in this place, and it sounded like she had a good time. She ordered chicken fingers. She loves chicken fingers. So that made her happy, and I'm glad. You know, it's great that they do this once a month, and it's nice that my mother's actually taking advantage of that and going, because really it gives her an opportunity to get out and about, and I think that's good for her. Her birthday's coming up, as I mentioned a little earlier in the vlog. Her birthday's actually on Thursday, but we're going to celebrate it on Sunday. I've reserved the games room, that's what they call it, in the residence for us. It's just a small gathering because it's just going to be immediate family. My sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, and Walter and I, and Mom, of course. So I've gone out this weekend. I got a few little quickie decorations and things like that. I think we're going to just pick up Chinese food. I asked her if she'd want it Chinese or Swiss chalet, and she said, well, she likes both. I figured Chinese food might be easier for her to handle, because, you know, you get something like Swiss chalet, she's going to have to cut it. And she can, but I just figured the Chinese is a little easier. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to get her, my sister and I are going in on this gift together. I mean, what do you get somebody that's in, you know, a nursing home? There's not a heck of a lot she needs. And anything she does need, she's got. But now in this new room, she has windowsills. Very wide windowsills. 2 nice windows, southern exposure. And my sister's brought her over potted plants before, and they just basically dry up and die because my mother doesn't water them. And basically the staff don't think about it because, well, they're busy. You know, they don't have time to worry about all that kind of stuff, really. I get that. So my suggestion to my sister was that maybe we should get her some succulents, because succulents don't need a lot of water, virtually difficult to kill as far as I know. And I figure whenever we're over to visit my mother, we can check them out, see how dry they are, and give them a little bit of water, and that'll be good. And I'm thinking, you know, get her, you know, some that are sort of in an arrangement, like in a nice tin tray thing. You know what I'm talking about. You see them at HomeSense and places like that all the time. So I was mentioning this to my sister. My sister, who was in the business, the floral business, she said, succulents aren't as great as you might think, but then she named some other kind of plant that's better, and so she's looking after it. I'll defer to her expertise, and she's going to get it and whatever. So that'll be something. It'll just, you know, brighten up the room a little bit, bring a little life into it as well, and, you know, something that's no fuss, no muss, and she doesn't have to worry about killing them. Not that I think she's that worried about killing them, because she didn't seem to worry about the other plants dying. That's the way it goes. So that's what's coming up with my mom, and everything is fine there. What else is coming up? Well, Ultimate Sewing. You've heard me talk about Ultimate Sewing before. It's where I get most of my quilting supplies. They're having their semi-annual open house. What that means is they will have a listing of all of the classes they're going to be offering in the fall. So you got to get there early before the store opens. You got to line up. Usually Walter and I are very much at the front of the line, beating off all the other women to get there, and sign up for what classes we want to take. Now, I'll say right now that there are 2 classes I know that are coming up. I don't know what the product looks like. It doesn't matter yet. I won't know until the night before, basically. And even then, there may not be any pictures. That's usually the way that this works. I know it's not the best way, and I don't understand why it's done this way. There must be some reason for it, but or maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just they're not organized enough. I don't know. But either way, they're doing a class with a mystery quilt. I know that. And so that might be kind of fun. And they're doing what's called Bargella, which is a type of quilt that I've wanted to make for a while. They're kind of cool. They're not that difficult, I don't think. You kind of do something where you put all your fabric together and make a tube, and then the way you cut it makes this really neat looking design that looks like it curves, but it actually isn't curving because it's a lot of straight lines. Anyways, I know they're having those 2 classes, so those are the 2 right now I want to sign up for. Heaven only knows there will probably be a couple of others on there that'll catch my eye. But I made the mistake back before where I took too many classes at once. And basically I was living at the Ultimate Sewing Center. I had a class every day at one point. It seemed like, 4 days out of 7. And that's fine. I mean, they're a lot of fun. I don't mind that, except for the fact that you get behind because there's always homework, right? And then it kind of takes the joy out of it. So I think I'm going to try to limit myself just to 2 classes, and those are the 2 right now that I think I want to take. We'll see. So that's coming up this weekend. And that's about it. Yeah, nothing else to really tell you. I may do an Idiot Quilter episode this week to talk about gadgets and things. I don't know. Depends on my time. Lots of things to do. Lots and lots of creative things to do. I'm not complaining. I love being creative. And I'm glad I got so many things that I can't decide what to work on next. Okay, so I hope you have a good week. And don't forget now, Stephen Walter Live, as I said, watch for notifications on YouTube as to when we're doing it this week. It could be Sunday, but early on Sunday, as in probably around 1 o'clock our time, Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, or it might be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. It just depends. So we'll see. So anyways, have a great week. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.